As we come to the close of World at War Zombies, we approach the pinnacle of the evolution of basic zombies and its storyline. This new installment finally begins to push away from the bare-bones nature of super early zombies, while also taking place at one of the most important and pivotal locations in the entire zombies storyline. For this map takes place at the main headquarters of Group 935, the main research lab for Element 115, the factory, the giant Riese. Riese takes us away from the desolate swamps of Shinonuma back to the gray, dank atmosphere of apocalyptic Germany. This map, again, takes a step back from the horror atmosphere of early World at War, being the least creepy map of the game. As you'll come to see, however, this does not do it any disservices. The atmosphere, while not being super creepy, is still fantastic and does exactly what it intended to do. Now abandoned, the Riese facility was once the main testing lab for all things Element 115. Around the maps are various equipment, notes, and supplies that were used to create wonder weapons and test 115. For fans of the zombie storyline, a look around Riese is pure eye candy. The raining of ash and fire completes this map aesthetically, insinuating chaos and destruction on an active scale at the facility. This is what has become of Group 935. The player spawns in on a teleporter atop a small staircase with a miniature courtyard one level below. This is the first map where the player begins outdoors and must work their way to the interior parts of the map. The Gewehr 43 and Kar 98K are purchasable in this room to help keep out the zombies that approach from 4 windows. 2 paths can be taken to leave the spawn area and begin the loop to the power switch. I'll address the most common path first. The first door here almost feels like a ripoff, as the player barely gets inside and is greeted immediately with yet another door. This door, however, leads into the garage section of the factory, with the familiar and friendly Thompson available to purchase on the wall. This room is very interesting, having a furnace burning quietly in the back and providing enough room for the player to gather some points. The next door will be the stairs here, and the player can follow this path, drop down here next to the drawbridge, and turn on the power. Riese is one of my favorite maps to turn the power on. It's very satisfying to watch the factory awaken with the drawbridge falling and the trap activating. The other path leaving the spawn area goes to the other side of the courtyard, to another small area, this time outside of the animal testing lab. The animal testing lab is one of the more creepy areas in Riese, with sinister-looking cages and broken walls. This long hallway leads to a staircase that goes up to the drawbridge, yet now on the opposite side. Similar to before, hop down and run over to the power switch. A couple important spots to note are that of the mystery box, which is conveniently very close to the power switch, and Juggernog, which is inconveniently not near anything. More on that later. There are 3 more rooms on the map, branching respectfully from animal testing, the garage, and behind the power switch. These 3 doors all lead to rooms with interesting machinery, water tanks, and lab equipment. The most important room on Riese is the laboratory area behind the power switch, as this section of the map has the most infamous camping area in Zombies history, the catwalk. We'll get more into the catwalk as we continue with the video. Just know that this section of the map is where the player will likely be spending most of their time. Something I didn't mention about the branching rooms, however, are their most defining feature, their teleporters, in need of activation. Already we're seeing more objectives than any prior map so far. This does raise a question, however. What does activating all 3 teleporters do? Linking the 3 teleporters on Riese are the main component to the first Pack-a-Punch quest in Zombies, which in turn leads to the first Pack-a-Punch in Zombies. The player must activate each of these smaller teleporters on the branching paths and run back to the spawn room to link it to the main teleporter before the timer ticks down. Doing this will slowly lower the mechanical door beside the main teleporter and spawn in a drop. Once all 3 teleporters are linked, the mechanical door will fully drop and the Pack-a-Punch machine will be revealed. The Pack-a-Punch machine is one of the most important additions ever in Zombies, as this device can upgrade the weapon in your hands to become far more powerful and shoot lasers. Some guns have a greatly significant upgrade, like the spawn weapon, the Colt M1911. When putting this otherwise useless gun into the Pack-a-Punch machine, the player will receive its upgraded variant, which is called the... so some of them have fun names. As you can see though, this weapon is now incredibly effective at killing zombies, thanks to the Pack-a-Punch machine. Some guns, however, it does virtually nothing, such as the Kar 98K, who I'm gonna pick on again. The damage simply doubles on this gun, which would be substantial if the Kar 98K wasn't a 2-shot in round 2 unpack-punched. And the name of this upgrade is the Armageddon. What a badass name for a piss-poor gun. And then there's the guns you should upgrade. A couple that come to mind are the Thompson turning into the Gibzo-Matic, the FG42 turning into the 420 Impeller. And no, that's not a joke. The Browning to the B115 Accelerator, and so on. If I'm forgetting any great upgrades, let me know in the comments. Going forwards, the Pack-a-Punch... Did you do it? Did you start typing PPSH into the comments? Because you shoulda. Pack-a-punching the PPSH will grant the player the Reaper, arguably the best bullet weapon in zombies history. With over 800 bullets, a rapid rate of fire, and strong mobility, the Reaper is a killing machine, and OG World at War players can glaze it for days. Understandably, mind.
Once more for old
PPSH! Yeah! The unfortunate part about the Reaper and lots of these World at War weapons is this is the only map you can obtain these Pack-a-Punch variants. Since Pack-a-Punch is a feature that will be on pretty much every map going forward, there are typically 4 to 5 maps per game where you can upgrade the weapons of that COD title. Unfortunately, this is the only World at War installment with Pack, so the weapons that don't appear past World at War can only be upgraded on this map. From here on out, power will remain the primary objective for the player to seek out upon starting their match. Once the power is on, the next quest will almost always be for Juggernog or Pack-a-Punch. Juggernog usually consists of opening a few doors to find the machine and getting enough money to purchase the perk, whereas Pack-a-Punch quests are typically unique and creative to their respective map. A strong Pack-a-Punch quest is huge for me as far as liking or disliking a map, as having a good or bad early game setup can often entice me or deter me from playing a map. The last thing to address as far as Pack-a-Punch goes is its ability to Pack-a-Punch wonder weapons. Riese shares a similar wonder weapon set with Shinonuma, having the ray gun and the Wunderwaffe. The ray gun can be upgraded into the Porter's X2 ray gun, which may sound familiar if you've been watching since the Nacht video, or if you've ever packed a ray gun, which I assume you have. If you recall, a Treyarch employee named Porter was the one who came up with the design and concept of the ray gun, so this was their very cool way of giving him the credit he deserves. Meanwhile, the Wunderwaffe can be packed into the Wunderwaffe DG3 JZ. Very creative, right? No. I also wouldn't recommend packing the Wunderwaffe on this map, but we'll get more into that later. However, there is one new wonder weapon on Riese that cannot be pack-punched, and that's because it's not a gun at all. The Monkey Bomb is the first iteration of a special grenade that is in the garbage Molotov. The Monkey Bomb takes about 5 seconds to throw and distracts all the zombies, getting the player out of sticky situations. The Monkey Bomb doesn't do much damage and creates crawlers, but it's definitely worth throwing one if stuck in a corner. I would say the best use of a Monkey Bomb is to revive a downed player, as the 5-second delay upon hitting the special grenade button can often be overlooked. In this way, I do find the Monkey Bombs to be kind of overrated. In future installments, we get far better versions of the Monkey Bomb, and people like to treat the Monkey Bomb as if it's a save-me weapon. Its iconicism will always be substantial, as I literally have 2 statuette Monkey Bombs around my Xbox. But it definitely has its disadvantages. Another new weapon that appears on this map is the Bowie knife. The Bowie knife is purchasable outside of the lab for 3,000 points, and significantly boosts the strength of the player's knife. And when I say significant, I mean players will typically be able to kill the zombies with one knife up until round 10 or 11 after purchasing the weapon. The Bowie knife is great for generating points on early rounds, though it must be used right, as the difference needs to come out over the 3,000 point purchase price to create an advantage for the player. I typically avoid buying it for this reason, but the Bowie knife is certainly a beloved weapon by
a certain group of people.
This is also the first map where a new drop drops. Unfortunately, it's not a very strong drop. This is the first map that has the Carpenter power-up, which rebuilds all the barriers and grants the player 200 points. This is useless. We've known for a while now that rebuilding barriers really doesn't do much but prevent the inevitable, and Carpenter actually could sometimes make things worse. Boarding all the windows on the map at once can bunch up the zombies and force them all on the player's face at once. I don't exactly avoid Carpenters, but there's no way I'd ever go out of my way for one until BO4 when they adjust its abilities and make it useful. We'll see if we get that far in the series. This is also the first map where you can lie in front of a perk to get a little bit of spare change. As you can see on this map, it's really not that much money. It'll end up going up to 100 points as games progress, but yeah, it's kind of useless on Riese, but you may as well just do it to make your friends mad. The final huge introduction this map has is an Easter egg quest, albeit incredibly short and typically seen with an asterisk next to it. Being an Easter egg, however, this will be covered in the Easter egg section of the video. For now, we move on to the unique features of Riese. Throughout the video thus far, there has been lots of talk of teleporters. To be honest, for a 1500 point purchase, these things are pretty useless. You can use any of the teleporters around the map to teleport to the courtyard area in spawn, which, especially given the steep price, is needed so seldom. It's convenient to get to the Pack-a-Punch machine quickly, but Riese is such a small map, the 1500 point purchase doesn't seem worth it. The only reason I could see this being a smart purchase is if the player needs a max ammo and is attempting to generate one from the random drop given per teleport, which is obviously a rare instance. Teleporters and fast travels will reappear and improve throughout zombies, but this first iteration just isn't very useful. A couple things that return on Riese from Shi No Numa are the Wunderwaffe and the Hellhounds. The Hellhounds, however, have a neat twist on this map. On Riese, around the late teens, dogs begin to spawn in at the same time as the zombies. There aren't a huge amount of dogs that spawn on zombie rounds, but they truly can be a nuisance, as the player has to change where they're aiming, and obviously, dogs are fast and vicious. I feel like there are a couple achievements on this map that are also noteworthy. Achievements are obviously side objectives that the player can do in order to get gamer score, gain aura, and get bitches. In this series, I'll cover noteworthy achievements that may either be cool or hard to accomplish, and Riese certainly has a couple. The first noteworthy one would be Acquire Waffle Weapons, which requires the player to get all 3 wonder items, being the ray gun, the waff, and the monkeys, at the same time. While not explicitly difficult, this one can take a while, as those weapons can be rare and take numerous box hits. One of the hardest achievements ever, however, must be Perkaholics Anonymous, which requires the player to reach round 20 without perks. Mind you, this means no Juggernaut. On solo, the player literally cannot get hit twice while attempting this achievement. It obviously gets easier the more players you have, but round 19 with no Jug is no joke on any Treyarch game with any amount of players, let alone this 2-hit installment. The final unique part of Riese is its incredibly iconic camping spot, the Catwalk. The Catwalk, oh, damn it, hold on. Okay, are we good now? Alright, cool. Anyways, the Catwalk, arguably the best and most iconic camping spot in zombies history. This is obviously reasonably ironic, seeing how training was invented on the prior map, but I suggest these accolades for the Catwalk for a damn good reason. Players stand in this little cage area at the back of the Catwalk and fire down this long stretch at the zombies. This long range of sight is the only way zombies can approach the player, so there's no concern of getting snuck up on, and you'll have at least a few seconds to see the zombies before they even get near you. The Catwalk is one of those things that I can't believe Treyarch let slide during its development. A real head scratcher. At this point, camping had already been well established, and you think Treyarch would avoid giving us one of the easiest camping spots in history. But they gave it to us. Using a PPSH with Speed Cola and a Wunderwaffe makes this spot insane. On co-op, even having MG42s with Speed Cola is very useful. Players can yell, "I'm reloading," which indicates they can't fire for a couple of seconds, so the other player or players can pick up the slack. Honestly, there's hardly a reason to use any other strategy for a casual game of Riese, as anyone can be taught how to do this. Before getting to the Catwalk, players typically camp near the power switch, with the door leading to the Catwalk area behind them. This area is large, has a trap, and also contains a large line of sight. The only problem is that the player needs to purchase the door behind them in order to activate the Pack-a-Punch machine. This temporary camping spot, however, is great for early rounds and setting up. A lot of the time, the player will wait until they have enough for the door and Pack-a-Punch to purchase the door, so they can activate Pack-a-Punch and head up to the Catwalk for the first time already packed. The last common strategy I can think of on Riese is a spawn room train. This train is decent, and if you're good at it, beyond decent. The biggest concerns I have on this train are getting caught on the stairs going up to pack, or the zombies jumping over the fence. Also, being so close to spawn, if the player training here goes down and there's other players at the Catwalk, the teammate can make a good use of the teleporter and use it to teleport directly to the player. so they don't have to run through the horde that took them out on the way to revive them. But again, what's the point of playing Reese if you're not camping on the catwalk? Well, Tails Can Fly and Krups could give you the perfect answer for that, as they both used a full map train to get to their high rounds records on Reese. As of February 2024, Tails Can Fly holds the record on Reese at 194, which might make you stop in shock, because obviously the last few maps are in the multi-thousands as far as the high rounds go. But understand that this was the point where Treyarch abandoned the 24 zombie spawn limit. Rounds end up becoming excruciatingly longer and harder the further you go, and the WAF just isn't the same on Reese as it was on Shinonuma. Also, don't forget the complication with the dog spawning in at the same time as zombies, which increases the difficulty and actually led to Tails Can Fly's demise on round 194. What Tails Can Fly does is train the zombies up, bring them to the garage area where he activates the trap, carefully runs through it, killing the zombies and only slightly damaging him. This is also how Krups set the old record of 170 in November of 2022. But as far as strategies go on Reese, I dial back to the catwalk. This is where 90% of players will spend their time on the map, as its nostalgic appeal and ease of use creates a fun and engaging experience for players of all skill levels. Now, it's time to look at the overwhelming highs and glaring issues of Reese. There really isn't much to say about what's great on Reese, as everything great on this map is very surface level. The catwalk is incredible, the layout is easy, the story implications peak here, and the ambience is well established. Pack-a-Punch and an Easter egg quest making their first appearance here also give Reese the feeling of being the first complete zombies map. Once we reach the midway point of Black Ops 1, basically every single zombies map will have these things going forward, and Reese having these things on World at War gives it BO1 vibes on a World at War experience, which is pretty darn cool. What's not pretty darn cool, however, is the issues with Juggernog on this map. You must all know where I'm going with this, right? First of all, its location is terrible. This little corridor has 2 windows and is incredibly easy to get cornered in. I don't care if you're on the catwalk, camping by the power switch, or spawn room training. It is never safe to make a run for Jug mid-round or after ending a round. You will get swarmed. Getting Jug on this map must be strategically done, typically with just 1 zombie left. And once you get Jug, the issues don't stop. I've been treating the Wonderwaff as a lower level citizen this video. I'm sure some of you are wondering why. Oh, I don't know, maybe because it takes your Jug? I know, dramatic reveal. Plot twist, if you will. But let me explain. If you zap yourself with the Wonderwaff on this map, as seen here, it will invoke a glitch with the player's health regeneration and cause them to go down in 2 or 3 hits despite having Juggernaut. There's a common misconception that this only happens once pack-punching the Waff. Hell, that was originally what I wrote in this script. But through playing, we found that the Waff does this on Reese regardless whether it is the DG2 or the DG3. The fact that this is still in the game after 17 years is embarrassing on Treyarch's part. It's a true shame that one of Zombie's most classic wonder weapons is borderline unusable on one of Zombie's most classic maps. When I see the Waff in the box on World at War Reese, I usually just leave it be. As you may expect, taking place at the main facility for the creation of zombies, Reese has a lot going on when it comes to the story. The Reese facility was the main testing area for Group 935, run by the familiar Dr. Edward Richtofen and his partner, Dr. Ludwig Maxis. They recruited members such as Dr. Groff, Dr. Schuster, and Dr. Porter to work at the facility. Looking around the map, you can find evidence of these scientists' existence, such as this sign in the Quick Revive room indicating that this office used to belong to Maxis. A note can also be found in the animal testing lab written by Harvey Yena, another complicated character we will get to know later. This notice board nearby the testing lab also depicts images of significant locations for the future of zombies, but those will be addressed later. Radios around the map depict certain situations that occurred at the Reese facility, including Maxis trying to control the zombies.
Stand up. Stand up! Good. Look at me. Over here!
As is evident on the map to Reese, a big part of Group 935's development was creating the teleporters. This was a task headed by Richtofen and assisted by Dr. Schuster. When Maxis showed no interest in Richtofen's first display of teleportation, teleporting a walnut across the room, he insisted Richtofen quit wasting time on the teleporters. Clearly, Richtofen and Schuster did not listen and created the large teleporters we see around the map. Richtofen and Schuster then recruited Groff to help the development of a research station at a location far, far away. This initial disagreement between Maxis and Richtofen eventually led to the power struggle that would lead to Group 935's demise. You see, eventually Maxis grew fond of the teleporters and wanted to see if they would work on living beings. They, unwisely, decided to test these teleporters on Maxis' daughter's dog, Fluffy. Samantha, Maxis' daughter, caught them in the act, and the chaos ensued can be heard on a radio on Riese.
Daddy, what are you doing with Fluffy?
Damn it, Samantha, I told you never to come in here. Edward, get her out of here. Yes, Doctor.
What's wrong with her? Daddy, what did you do? Fluffy!
Come back here, Samantha! Stop her! Easy. Come here, Samantha. Good girl, Flossie. Gently, Samantha. That's not Flossie anymore. We must get out of here. What? Edward, what are you doing? Open the door! Edward, open this door now!
I'm scared.
Don't go. Stay by me, Samantha. Goodbye, Dr. Maxis.
Samantha and Maxis were teleported away, not to return. What did return, however, was Fluffy, as the first Hellhound. Maxis and Sam disappeared, never to be seen again up to this point in the series. I can't be too certain. Perhaps this light on the moon, only visible with the PTRS, could provide a hint. Anyways, Richtofen's sudden turn and desire for control is now evident. His evil side could actually be depicted upon the release of Shi no Numa in a clever coded message. All of the Ultimates crew characters got a character bio upon the release of Shi no Numa, and if you take the first letter from each sentence, it spells out, "The Doctor wants the ultimate power, bastard." So clever. But that brings us to present-day Riese. October 28th, 1945. The factory has been abandoned and zombies run amok. Richtofen's return to this spot is based upon his desire to find Maxis and Samantha, part of his grand scheme, of which I still won't give too much away. Either way, he needed the teleporters to do this, so he came here with his brainwashed minions and got the teleporters ready to go. Unfortunately for him and the crew, the Wonder Waff overloads the teleporter once they all step into it and sends them through space and time, and not at all where Richtofen had hoped it would send them. This is where Black Ops 1 picks up, and for now, where our story ends. As I mentioned earlier, Riese is the first map to have a main Easter egg quest, even if the community barely counts it and it consists of only a couple steps. Either way, let's get into it. In order to activate this Easter egg, which is known as the Flytrap Easter egg, you first have to pack-a-punch a weapon, preferably one that can shoot long distances. Then you can come here to this fence and aim down your sights. Outside the map here, you will see a Muholapka, otherwise known as the European Flytrap. On the Muholapka is a black box for the player to shoot. Once shot, objects begin floating out of the box and spread around the map. After this sequence, a demented, high-pitched voice can be heard.
I want to play a game. Let's play hide and seek.
It is evident, based on the story section, this is Samantha. Now, the player must play her game, which is hide and seek. 3 items must now be shot around the map. The first item is a teddy bear holding an upgraded M1911 and a bottle of Juggernog. This bear is in a cage in animal testing. After shooting each item, Samantha will comment that you found one. Another bear, this time holding a Bowie knife, can be seen on this balcony here. The final item can be found in the furnace in the garage, being a monkey bomb. Once these are all shot, Samantha will say, and that's it. If you've done any other Easter egg, it's evident why this one is not really counted as a main quest by the community, as this one is not nearly as complicated as even the second easiest Easter egg. But it's still a cool Easter egg to do, an interesting addition this early in the game, and it gives you an achievement. Another cool little Easter egg takes place at the furnace and involves the monkey bomb again. If a monkey bomb is thrown into the fire, it will scream as if it's burning alive, and Samantha will comment, This one always reminds me of dropping a baby penguin off the cliff on Mario 64, right? Just seeing how much you can torture this small creature, because as kids, we were deviants. It's fun that Treyarch thought of this and addressed it by adding sound effects and disapproval from Samantha. I'm also going to quickly show the locations of some of these radios we discussed earlier around the map. We delved into the content of these radios during the last section, so no need to do it again. I do want to say, however, these are some of the most important and instrumental radios in Zombies history. This probably doesn't come as a shock, as we've already established Riese as the main location for Group 935's research. The last Easter egg on World at War to discuss is the music Easter egg, with the song Beauty of Annihilation by Kevin Sherwood and Alina Siegman. In order to activate the song, you must hold X on 3 neon test tubes in 3 different locations around the map. The first 2 can be seen here in the animal testing area, and the last one can be found near the teleporter above the garage. As you can see, lots of more content and passion are being put into the intricate gameplay details of Zombies. As we progress, this section of the video will become even more significant. As you can tell, we've come a long way from Nocturne and Toten as far as Easter eggs, and Black Ops 1 will truly open the chest to what Easter eggs have to offer. Speaking of Black Ops 1, let's talk about other versions of Riese we see throughout the franchise. Similar to all other World at War maps, Riese has a strong layout connection to a multiplayer map, this time being Nightfire. Riese also reappears on Black Ops 1, updating gun variety and getting rid of that annoying waft glitch. BO1 also has a new strategy, or rather, a new glitch spot. If you take this path out of spawn on Riese, don't open the staircase in the garage, and camp by this window, zombies will only come from this window. I've only tested this out a few times as I prefer the catwalk and not cheesing the game this way, but this is definitely a viable way to get high up into the rounds. The only thing is you must stay very tight to where I'm standing, or the zombies will start to come from the doorway too. As far as this BO3 variant, however, it takes a step away from what the other World at War maps did for a remake, and is a complete remaster. In fact, this map isn't even called Riese, it's called the Giant. We aren't going to delve too much into the Giant, as I believe this is a new experience in and of itself, so it will be covered once we reach Black Ops 3 in this series. I do want to address, however, how interestingly different the map looks. Obviously, the raining ash has been replaced by a fragile snow, completely changing the atmosphere of the map, which, like I said, helps create that new experience that I referred to a moment ago. I would also like to address here, however, that my favorite version of Riese is actually different than most of the communities. I personally love the Black Ops 1 version of Riese. Now, it's not that this version is hated or anything, but I feel like you've got your classic zombie players that love the originality and feel of World at War Riese, and then you've got your hardcore BO3 lovers, again, rightfully so, that go head over heels for the Giant. While both of these versions I believe are very good, I prefer BO1 because it keeps the same aesthetic as World at War and just feels more polished, without the World at War waft glitch and better weapons. I feel like the Giant's catwalk is far more cheesable on Black Ops 3 as well due to new features that the game provides, while Black Ops 1 provides a more challenging experience that feels fair. Either way though, I wouldn't be mad at any take on someone's favorite version of Riese, as I think it is all around an excellent map and a great note for World at War to end on. There really isn't too much here to say about Riese. It's obviously the favorite for most people on World at War, and I'm no different. I think it's an A-tier experience. I wouldn't put it in an S because, like I said, there's a lot more maps in the future that have a lot more features and cool mechanics and stuff, but Riese was important. Riese was instrumental. The catwalk is really fun to camp on. It's such a classic experience, whether all 3 versions. Like, I would say Riese is definitely the map as far as like World at War having a BO1 and BO3 version, where all 3 versions are like really like close to each other as far as like how good they are. Like Shinonuma drops off in Black Ops 3. Knocked on Black Ops 3 doesn't really feel like Knocked, and Varrock is so much superior on World at War, it's not even funny. Whereas Riese all around is a great experience. I think it's amazing as far as the story, just knowing where you are, keeping track of Group 935's research, seeing it all around the map. If you care anything about the story, like I said, pure eye candy. There's really not much to say. A lot of Riese is just camping at the catwalk, which I guess is another reason it doesn't go up to S is, you spend 90% of your time at the catwalk, which is a great location. Obviously, it's in freaking A tier for a reason. But, yeah, I don't think there's much else to say. I'm just rambling at this point. It is an A tier map, and it's always been an A tier map for me, and it probably always will be. And thus, World at War is finished. I personally can't believe I even made it this far in this series, but the good news is I'm still having a blast doing it, and I can see myself producing these videos for a long time going forwards. Make sure to share the series with your friends, as I would love for this series to grow to its fullest potential. Either way, Black Ops 1 is up next, and I couldn't be more excited to get into my favorite Call of Duty game and create meaningful content for you guys. And with that, till next time.